What's the worst thing you've done in the heat of the moment? My childhood friend died and I was about 20. He liked my drawings, so I wrote him a goodbye letter on the back of one of my drawings. He had been cremated and I found myself alone in a room with the urn. So I opened it up. His ashes were in a bag, so I stuffed the drawing/letter down alongside the bag, thinking that way I could hide it from his family. When I did that, the bag ripped and I got his ashes all over my hands. I brushed off what I could into the urn but had to wash some of him down the sink. It was awful and I'm still guilty about it decades later. My parents were tailors and they used to do a lot of work from home. They had really big, heavy metal scissors they used to use. I was very young. Under 10 for sure. My older brother did something to piss me off. I grabbed the scissor near me and threw them at him. It missed his eyes by a small fraction. He went ballistic on why would I do something like this. 25 plus years later the memory still makes me sad how close I was to seriously injuring or killing my brother. I used to go to the gym and sneak into the health suite with a sauna, steam room and hot tub without paying. I got busted and had to pay on the way out. The manager was nice and said, "Look, just pay next time, okay?" I said, "I won't get caught next time." She said, "Consider your membership cancelled." When I was 18 I got a job in excavation. I was learning how to dig with a track hoe. Fast forward a year. And I'm still learning the tricks. My boss screamed at me for parking the work truck in the wrong place. Then told me either I need to learn to dig faster and better or find a new job. Well, I said F it. And I started digging fast as I could. And then, I found the effing city water main. Back in college it was the first week at a new school and I was on my computer waiting for my evening class to start. Someone asked if they could use my computer to log into their student account to see where their class was. I let them do it and had my Facebook account open in the other tab. They updated my Facebook status to something very racist thinking they were funny, but forgot to close out of their school account. Once I figured out what they did, thanks to a furious phone call from my mother, I used their account to drop all of the classes they signed up for. I was a teenager. I was helping my family clear out our basement, sorting old clothes and toys to donate or dispose off. Me and my brother are horsing around when I spot an absolutely ancient water gun. I pick it up swiping away cobwebs and what do you know, water is sloshing around the reservoir, so I pump it a couple times and spray my little brother directly in his face. He screams instantly and not the fun "ha ha you sprayed me with water" scream. The water smells like mold and death. It's left over from the last time we played with the guns, which was years ago. He gets a bacterial infection in both eyes, cycles antibiotics and comes away from it whole. I catch poop about this at every family gathering and will until one of us dies. I was probably 10 to 12 hanging out with the neighborhood kids, one being a few years younger. He was being annoying and wouldn't stop. So after a few minutes of constant annoyance I threw my scooter at him, hitting his head. No serious injuries but he needed a few stitches. I knew I effed up the instant the scooter left my hands. I didn't do it but it happened near me. I was working construction one summer, and the veteran guy working with me got into a fight with the foreman and came back to the floor we were working on all pissed off, kicking things around. We were up on the 4th floor, and windows hadn't gone in yet. He picks up a huge level and flings it out the window, and about 5 seconds later says, "Fuck. That was mine." I had gotten into a fist fight with my stepdad when I was 14 and got kicked out of the house. My dad picked me up and was lecturing me about making good decisions and asked me, "Do you want to grow up to be a criminal loser?" I told him, "At least I won't work a dead-end poop job and grow up to be like you." The instant it left my mouth I regretted it. He even shot back with, "Exactly, I want you to be better than me." I could tell it hurt him. The poopty part is, he did everything for me and still does. That conversation pops into my head from time to time and I still feel horrible about it. I did apologize to him later that same day. What I said came from a bad place and he knew that. When I was in 10th grade a classmate of mine pissed on my shoes. I didn't snap right then and there, but he made fun of my looks a couple minutes later. I completely lost my poop, grabbed him by the neck and slammed his head into a steel beam. In hindsight I realized that I could have killed him or disabled him for life, but luckily he got away with a bad concussion. I work hospital security, and we hold a lot of violent psych patients until they can be transferred to a behavioral facility. This surprisingly strong old man assaulted a nurse when she was trying to change his briefs, and I responded first. I was wrestling with the guy and trying to hold him in the bed until backup got there. He finally calmed down, looked me in the eye, and told me something to the effect of, "When I get out of here I'm going to kill you and have my way with your wife." And I responded, big words for a man in a diaper. I've never seen anyone rage harder. Dude genuinely tried his best to kill me. But, thankfully my coworkers got there right afterward and nobody got hurt. I don't know about heat of the moment, but when a cop asked why I thought I could go that fast down that road, I, without thinking, responded, "Because I always do." I then realized what my mouth had just said without consulting my brain and proceeded to lay my head against my steering wheel forcefully in shame. Smoked crack. This was late 1990s, I was around 29. I was a pretty heavy meth user/seller. So I went to this lady's house who would usually have sex if I brought over meth and got her high. When I got there she didn't want anyone in and there were 2 other guys there on the porch she wasn't letting in either. We talked for a second and said they had crack but no lighter and no money to buy one. I had a lighter. I gave them the lighter and smoked some crack with them. First time smoking crack and the last. Within 1 hour we ran out of crack. They knew some gangsters they could trade their gold chains for more crack. There was no pondering, no thought process. Driving to the bad side of the entire county at 3 a.m. to trade gold chains for crack seemed like the best idea ever. I had a moment of clarity and noped out of there pretty fast. I used to be not so great of a guy. Clean since May 22, 2000. My oldest son was still a baby and I was a fresh teenage dad. It was the middle of the night and he was screaming. I was sleep deprived and I was getting screamed at in my ear. He was sick and cranky and nothing would help. I went to move him and his baby fist hit me in the eye or something. I swatted it away really fast and hard and he cried even louder. I kept rocking him and crying and holding him even after he fell asleep. I felt so bad. Almost 9 years later and I still feel awful about it. I almost killed a classmate in high school. I was in wood shop and the first string varsity quarterback jokingly threatened to rape my little sister. I was a scrawny dude who was borderline anorexic, but I tackled him through a wall and held his head to a miter saw. The shop teacher pulled me off of him. Frankly, I'm surprised I was only suspended for a week. I've never been a particularly angry person. A life of getting bullied and abused sort of teaches you to let things roll off your back. But in that particular moment I fully intended to kill him. The wild thing was he and his buddies continued to antagonize me after that, all the way until graduation. If anything, they got worse instead of backing down. This is gonna be a sad one. So my best friend at the time wasn't doing very well, had to move back in with his parents and had no job. I, being the general manager of a fast food restaurant, got him a job at my store. This dude was terrible. Messed up on every order, wouldn't listen, and would complain about everything. Finally one day he came into work drunk. It was pretty obvious so I had to fire him. After I did he was just staring at me with this effed up look and wobbling. I stupidly let my emotions get to me and said, "You look effing disgusting," right to his face. I remember he looked down at his shirt for a stain or something, then I vividly remember his face as he realized I wasn't talking about his clothes, but himself as a person. He looked so destroyed by that. Without saying another word he turned around and walked out of the building. 30 minutes later he shot himself in the head at his house. We'll never forget the sound of his mom when I called her literally minutes after he died. Will forever haunt my dreams. People say don't blame yourself and all that poop. It's kinda hard when you were the last person he spoke to. I know if I didn't say that he probably would have done it eventually anyways because we all knew he was struggling. But since I knew, I definitely shouldn't have said that. I'll at least always believe I heavily influenced his decision. My dad and I got into an argument when I was 6 years old, so I wrote my very specific, very rare first name across the side of his brand new car with a stone. When he asked me if I'd done it, I of course denied it profusely. I am talking Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice level of acting. I should have won an Oscar. So he sort of laughed and said, "You're telling me someone else came up to my car and scratched your name across it?" I denied it for a whole afternoon while, in fairness to him, my father giggled to himself. I couldn't figure out why he was giggling. Surely he was going to skin me alive later and wear me around town on a cold evening. He said he couldn't help laughing because the lie was so ludicrous, but I stuck by it so resolutely that it was one of the funniest situations he'd ever been in. He knew he should punish me, but it was also so marvelous he couldn't bring himself to be angry. I'm nearly 36. Every time he gets a new car now he says, "You're not mad at me for something, are you?" Before he shows it to me. I play guitar in a bar band. One night many years ago, after a gig while loading up our equipment, some drunk guy decided he wanted to pick a fight. We tried to brush him off, but he wouldn't relent. Eventually, things got physical and I ended up having a scrap with him. I defeated him handily, as he was very drunk and I was not. He did not accept this result and went to get some of his friends. They came back and attacked us from behind. Again, they were defeated. Only this time, I was very pissed off. People were dragging Mr. Drunk and his pals away from our trailer when I spotted his baseball hat next to our back tire. I was so fired up that I picked it up and held it in the air to show it to him, then dropped it on the ground, exposed my penis, and pissed all over it in front of the crowd of people that had gathered. It felt very powerful in the moment. Until the police officer that the venue called, to help us deal with these furs, walked around the corner and saw me standing there with my dick in my hand. 2 victories followed by a crushing defeat. Tough night at the office. My parents okayed a very invasive, unnecessary surgery for me when I was a child, and the ultimate results still affect me to this day. When I was 19, my mother found out I was getting a tattoo somehow and started acting like a huge biatch about it. The tattoo was really important to me, and I felt like I was reclaiming my body as my own through that gesture, so I was naturally furious with her. I pulled up my shirt, showed her the 4-inch hideous scar she had agreed to put on my body, and said, "Yeah, Mom, it would be a real shame if I permanently disfigured my body with a tattoo," she cried. Did not pull out.